been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
What he's doing on a 5-day basis, and when he pitches at that ballpark, there's one thing you notice: there's not one empty seat.
The excitement he's brought to that city, and the fact that fans are starting to come back, especially on the nights he pitches, I mean, it is so cool to see. It's so overdue, and you can't help but root for Pittsburgh.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
As of July 22nd, we start a new deal with a monster distribution platform called SportsGrid, and we'll be live every day on national radio on SiriusXM channel 159, and we will be live on their national television platform every day from 10 a.m. till noon.
Only on SportsGrid.
A new week starts right here, right now, live on a Monday morning on the early line on SportsGrid and all across that SportsGrid network. It includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination to consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern time. A full look back on the first full weekend after the All-Star break in Major League Baseball. Who made a run early on, as we are now just over a week from the MLB trade deadline. That is exactly 1 week from tomorrow, maybe the big final date on the MLB season calendar before we really get into that home stretch in the postseason push as we near September and October. We'll look back on the weekend that was in Phoenix, WNBA All-Star Weekend, and a championship on the line yesterday across the pond in Scotland. What a year it has been for guys named Scheffler, but also guys named Schauffele on the golf course. DRS, so much to get to here over these 3 hours on a Monday morning on TEL.
Absolutely. New week, new money as we get after it. A full slate of games across the board, and it's going to be interesting to see the Olympics starting this week, so something extra to add into the equation. But we're ready to go. Football. And by the way, my Eagles, I believe, start training camp in full tomorrow, which I believe is the last team to report. So away we go. And August 1st, we'll be watching preseason football. The time to be alive? Yeah, it's right now.
That's a week and a half away.
Yeah.
The final team to report to training camp, actually, I believe there are two, come on Wednesday. That's the Dallas Cowboys out in Oxnard, California. But by the time we get to Wednesday afternoon, all 32 NFL clubs around the league will have entered training camp. We had some veterans show up this weekend alongside the Rooks as well. A ton of football talk coming your way this week. And a small programming note, Donnie Rightside, Mr. Done by Noon. That means the money line airs from 11 to noon Eastern time now on SportsGrid Radio. DRS might head out a few minutes early here. We will miss him, but we'll have a football focus at the end of the show. DRS, a new change to the timeline for the money line, but what can we expect? Will the format change at all as well?
Look, here's what's going to happen, though. Do I get changed like a phone booth in the final couple minutes here before I reappear on radio, energized and ready to go with old Kevin Walsh? So it should be fun to see how it plays out today, sort of to get into that flow. But it will be nice to have those afternoons a little bit more loose over here so your boy can get down to even more numbers in Major League Baseball, in the NFL, and away we go. I love it.
I mean, that break of the fast come noon Eastern time now, it is going to be ceremonious. Scott Kaplan and crew join the SportsGrid network starting today. For any more information, please reach out to others across the sport. I think Joe Lisi is handling all the scheduling changes. Let's look back on the weekend that was in sports at Royal Troon, the 152nd Open Championship. Saturday afternoon, the back nine for the fellas at the links, as difficult of a test of golf as you will see, but better weather on Sunday. And taking advantage of that, firing a 65, Xander Schauffele, a 6-under round of 65. Started Sunday one shot back of the 54-hole leader, Billy Horschel. And for the second time this year, Xander Schauffele is a major champion, victorious at the PGA Championship back in May in Louisville, Kentucky. Victorious as the champion golfer of the year, hoisting the claret jug yesterday. DRS entering the 2024 PGA Tour and golfing season. The knock against Xander Schauffele: didn't have what it takes to get it done at a major championship. Had finished top 10 so many times entering this year at a major, but never in the winner's circle. Now twice in the 4 major titles this year, Xander Schauffele goes home a champion.
Absolutely phenomenal. You saw Saturday, the rainy, the windy conditions. Schauffele still able to shoot a 69. And then when it matters the most, in round number 4, where the pressure is ratcheted up times 10, he goes out and shoots a 65, a 9-under tournament. Phenomenal from start to finish, hanging around and then turning it in the after boosters, right? On Sunday, where it's like, you know what? It's time to win a championship, and he was phenomenal, running away with it at times on Sunday. You can't be more impressed with what Schauffele did.
Xander Schauffele is now the 7th golfer in history to win 2 major championships in the same season and finish top 10 in the other 2, joining a list that features Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, Gary Player, Tom Watson, Tiger Woods, and Jordan Spieth. Historic stuff yesterday at Troon. Plenty more of a recap later on. Let's go back to the weekend that was in MLB. The Mariners avoid the sweep, beating the Houston Astros in the finale yesterday. The two teams tied atop the American League West. Seattle wins at home 6-4, but even in the loss, Yordan Alvarez hits for the cycle. A good weekend for the Stros to open things up, and Seattle continues its struggle that happened in the final few weeks before the All-Star break as well.
And down the stretch they come in the AL West here. Who's going to rise to the occasion? The boy, the Mariners really needed to at least strive and get one of those on Sunday, which they got. The Houston Astros going to be set up today against the Oakland Athletics. Maybe they can now make some headway, but a team that we were burying just a few weeks ago, 52-47, right in the thick of things now.
Houston has still won 19 of its last 26 games. Seattle struggling. We'll talk about it a little bit later on. 473 feet. 473 feet yesterday. That was the distance of the 30th home run of the season for Shohei Ohtani, leading all of the National League, trailing only Aaron Judge, who hit his 35th home run in a Yankees loss yesterday at home against the Rays. Albeit, Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers mashed 6 home runs in total to complete the sweep over Boston on Sunday Night Baseball. LA victorious 9-6.
Absolutely hammering the baseball last night. And you're right, Shohei damn near hit one out of the ballpark in Los Angeles. This is what we expected. The Dodgers in the second half, they're going to make additions to their team at the trade deadline, playing good baseball right out of the break against a very good team in the Boston Red Sox. Here come the Dodgers. Let's see if they can sustain this momentum for the rest of this early week now.
I'm sure you all got the breaking news that everybody did yesterday from Shams Charania that President Joe Biden was dropping out of the 2024 presidential election on the Democratic ticket. Of course, it was Shams Charania that broke that news. So everybody quickly went to the FanDuel Sportsbook and laid down a wager on Nick Castellanos to hit a home run, a man that thrives when current events are happening worldwide. And for the Phils, looking to avoid the sweep this weekend to start the second half against the Pittsburgh Pirates. They were already up 5-0. 2 outs in the top of the 9th, and Castellanos delivers, hitting a home run. The Phillies avoid the sweep with a 6-zip victory over the Pittsburgh Pirates.
They needed that one because they were real sloppy blowing the first game of this series. Didn't even show up on Saturday. And then you figure probably Sunday you might get Paul Skeens, but they pushed him back till Tuesday, and that benefited the Philadelphia Phillies. Another lefty on the mound, which was Marco Gonzalez. He was okay. 4 2/3 innings pitched, 2 earned runs. But how about Phillips for the Philadelphia Phillies? Now 2-0 in the season, 6 innings pitched, no earned runs on the road. The Phillies needed it and got it. And yes, Nick Castellanos always rises to the occasion when he is needed.
Yes, absolutely so. Ozzie Albies, as the injuries continue to stack up for Atlanta, now out for the next 2 months with a broken wrist. Not good for the Braves, who lost their opening weekend set following the All-Star break against the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, that's a tough break there. Again, no pun intended at that point, but my goodness, man, you have Albies and Acuna at the top of that lineup, so dynamic in so many ways. Now, basically, neither one of those are going to be there the rest of the season.
Everything is good when you win a championship, including banner number 18, the most in the history of the NBA. Sam Hauser, the sniper off the bench for Boston, signs a 4-year, $45 million contract extension.
Yeah, it looks like the Boston Celtics at this point have quadrupled their payroll. Good on Wick Rosebach for selling at the right time. My goodness, who's going to pay that payroll right now? Woo.
Pass the buck to the next ownership, who is going to pay a hefty premium for the franchise in Beantown. Rafael Nadal lost in a final.
Yeah, congratulations, Rafael Nadal. When's he coming back? U.S. Open? Is it next year? Senior
I think the
tour?
Paris Olympics. I don't know. Yeah, I think senior tour in tennis. That's the thing. We'll go to the Open Championship, a real event to break down next.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup, what you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The staple of consistency within the AFC North, that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. 17 years under Mike Tomlin, never a losing record, never less than 8 wins.
You add Patrick Queen there over from your division rival. You take a look at that offensive line, which does have some question marks, but still a decent wide receiving core that they have, a running game that has Najee Harris, and a quarterback that's been there, done that.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Next up is Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago, you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they've shown they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is one game to lose.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The Open Championship in the final round yesterday across the pond in Scotland at Royal Troon. And a knock against Xander Schauffele entering this season on the PGA Tour in the world of golf. Did he have what it takes to get it done in a final round of a major championship? He had finished top 10 so many times in his career. In fact, in 4 of the last 5 seasons entering this year on the PGA Tour, DRS, multiple top 10 finishes in major championships in 4 of the previous 5 years. Always the bridesmaid, though, and never the bride. Not this year. In fact, into the winner's circle twice. First at the 2024 PGA Championship at Valhalla, and then yesterday at Royal Troon on the west coast of Scotland. A 6 under par final round 65 to be crowned the champion golfer of the year and hoist the claret jug. Twice in this season, Xander Schauffele is a major champion.
I mean, fantastic. And sometimes when you just finally break through, the hardest one is to get that first one out of the way. Now winning the second one here in just a calendar year in the same season, that is absolutely tremendous. And also from being I don't want to say like a PGA Tour golfer, right? Because a lot of PGA Tour golfers certainly have won the Open Championship, but it was just nice to see a guy that's used to playing on different conditions. And it wasn't as if, Ben, you tuned in on Thursday and said, oh my goodness, this is going to be crazy. It's 75 degrees, sunny, no rain, and no wind for all 4 days. Of course, you would expect the American golfers to do extremely well. But the fact that you got a blast of every single weather condition, warmer weather, cold weather, rainy conditions, light wind, heavy wind, and he was able to prevail in every single round. 69, 72, 69, 65. Never let it get out of his way. And so many times on Saturday, you saw many golfers just trying to hold on, blowing leads here, and he shoots that 69 staying under par and then just kicks it into gear, as I talked about, on Sunday with a 65. Usually you're just trying to get in that final, pairing and try to hold on where people make mistakes around you and you just play par golf. But the fact that he went out and shot 65 on Sunday shows you how dialed in he was. That was phenomenal golf from start to finish in every single element that you can get. Xander Schauffele, the Open Championship winner, and boy, oh boy, did he deserve it.
And Donnie, how do you want to cap off your first 2 major championships? A final round 65 in both. In Louisville at Valhalla to hold off a very strong field at the PGA Championship for his first ever major championship. And then, of course, at the Open as well. A final round 65. He entered the final round 1 shot behind 54-hole leader. That was Billy Horschel. And what you just mentioned, DRS, we'll get to the history around Xander Schauffele in just a moment. But every post-round press conference following Saturday evening in Scotland, whether it was Scotty Scheffler or whether it was Dustin Johnson or Justin Rose or Shane Lowry, called those final 9 holes entering the backstretch at Royal Troon the most difficult they have ever played and did not want to play it again. Always into a stark win. Shane Lowry, the 2019 champion golfer of the year, victorious at the Open at Royal Portrush, seemed incredibly in control until he was 6 over par on Saturday. He was a 7 under par leader after Friday in the opening 36 holes. So for Xander to be under par on Saturday and then 6 under with a final round 65 on Sunday, historic enough there. He is just the 7th golfer in the history of the sport on the men's side to win 2 major championships in the same year and finish top 10 in the other 2. He is the 6th player ever to win the PGA Championship and the Open Championship in the same year. He is the 6th golfer ever to win his first 2 majors in the same calendar year as well. Xander Schauffele, a historic season, capped off in the final major championship of the year as the champion golfer of the year at Troon.
Absolutely. I mean, I enjoyed it all the way through thoroughly. And also, you're taking a look at him being 9 under, and you say, look at the rest of the top 10, because we were talking about on Thursday and Friday with Charlie, hey, it's going to be one of those tournaments where we don't see like a signature player at the top of the leaderboard. You still got those. Obviously, Schauffele won. Justin Rose, a previous winner of a major championship. I actually saw him at Marion back here, and I think maybe 2012, and about a decade ago, win that U.S. Open championship. And you also had John Rahm. I don't want to say like John Rahm came out of nowhere, but he hadn't been playing great golf as of late. He finishes 1 under, tied for 7th, along with Scheffler, right behind him as well. So this was a pretty good top 10 overall. They need to hold off some people. And again, I can't stress the importance of seeing 65. Like Rose still shot 67 on Sunday. Horschel 68, Lawrence 68, Henley 69, 68, 72 out of Scotty Scheffler. So it wasn't as if the golf course was easy. And also seeing the graphic, wasn't it, Ben? Like the hardest holes in the tournament were 10, 11, 12, and 13. Like you were facing the gauntlet right off the bat the minute that you hit the back 9, and he was great all the way through. $3.1 million, a ton of FedEx points, and a well-deserved, unbelievable season now for Xander Schauffele.
11-1 was Xander Schauffele entering the Open Championship at Troon. It was the third shortest number pre-tournament, plus 330 yesterday, and it was a story of how compact and jammed up the leaderboard was entering the final round. Billy Horschel at 4 under par had a one-stroke lead over 7 golfers, DRS, that were only a single stroke back. So for Xander Schauffele to emerge out of that mess in a final round and win was incredibly, incredibly historic. We'll have a debate on the other side of the break, DRS, about this year in golf. Scottie Scheffler, perhaps the most dominant, and we crowned him the best golfer on planet Earth. But Xander Schauffele has now won 2 major championships and finished top 10 in the other 2. Scottie Scheffler, of course, a top 10 yesterday. It's what he does, finishing the tournament at 1 under par in a tie for 7th. But if I asked you right now, DRS, and you can think about it throughout the break as well, but your first impression at the moment, who had the best year in golf? Who will be named the PGA Tour Golfer of the Year? Scottie Scheffler or Xander Schauffele? Who do you give the nod?
We count rings, Ben, in sports. Now, granted, you don't get rings technically for winning major championships in golf, but you get the point here. You got one guy that won the Masters in Scheffler who was dominant in many tournaments already. Impressive nonetheless, but don't you get the tie-breaking advantage if one person wins 2 majors that season? He has to be the golfer of the year. That's just my vibe on that. I mean, to do that twice in one season, let alone twice in your career, 2 majors in one season, that's phenomenal. You got to give the nod to Xander there.
I mean, including the Masters, Scottie Scheffler was victorious 6 times in 9 starts. Pure dominance that we haven't seen since the early 2000s out of Tiger Woods. But Xander Schauffele making history yesterday at the Open. We'll continue the debate and look at what the rest of the year in golf has to hold, including the Paris Olympics up next.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup, what you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
The staple of consistency within the AFC North, that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. 17 years under Mike Tomlin, never a losing record, never less than 8 wins.
You add Patrick Queen there over from your division rival. You take a look at that offensive line, which does have some question marks, but still a decent wide receiving core that they have, a running game that has Najee Harris, and a quarterback that's been there, done that.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Next up is Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago, you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they've shown they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is 1 game to lose.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
The 4th and final major championship of this year in men's golf came to a close yesterday. A final round Sunday that goes to Xander Schauffele, a 65, 6 under par on the west coast of Scotland at Royal Troon, the champion golfer of the year. His 2nd major title this season of the 4 in men's golf. Of course, it got started in historic fashion at the Masters. Scottie Scheffler wearing that green jacket for the second time in 3 years. Then it was Xander Schauffele finally breaking through for his first career major championship, finishing top 10 multiple times in 4 of the 5 years entering. That streak continues, of course, for Xander Schauffele this year, but it was his first major crown. Then at the United States Open, it was the disaster from Rory McIlroy down the stretch, and Bryson DeChambeau taking advantage with that wonderful bunker save on 18 that will go into U.S. Open history at Pinehurst number 2. And then yesterday, the champion golfer of the year at Troon, Xander Schauffele, victorious for a second time in 4 majors. 7 straight major championships in men's golf. DRS won by Americans, all 4 this year for the first time since 1982. The United States, in terms of men's golf, looking pretty solid this year in 2024.
Oh, it certainly is. And it was a great round as well, all on top of it. You take a look at where it started with the Masters and then where it ended in the Open, and sort of says, okay, we're only in July, but all the major championships are done. So what's to look forward to now? Because you basically closed the book on this season. But it was fantastic. And maybe you're looking for Scottie Scheffler to do it again. And we're going to preview the Olympics and just another shot here for a gold medal for some golfers. But having said that, really loved the Masters. I thought the PGA was a decent tournament as well. Of course, we loved the Open and where it was at this point. And then obviously the British Open Championship with Xander Schauffele at Troon, which gave us all the elements. So on top of it, sometimes we see like surprise. Like I don't want to say like, oh, Xander was a surprise to win the PGA Championship. He's been a really good golfer for a long time. It's interesting to see that we just have superstars across that board right now and well-known golfers. We didn't get that, hey, man, never expected this guy to win a tournament of this ilk before. So I thought it was a pretty good major championship series this summer, and next year when we get right back into the Masters, we'll see if it can do the same.
So there is still more golf to be played, and I asked Donnie the question prior to the break. If you were to look at those 2 guys, Scottie Scheffler, 6 victories in 9 starts at a point this year, including a green jacket, 2 top 10s in 2 of the other 3 major championships at Valhalla, despite all of the fiasco, entering his second round, of course, being arrested on that Friday, and a top 10 yesterday at the Open Championship as well. Or Xander Schauffele, top 10 finishes in all 4 major championships, including, of course, 2 major championship victories. I would agree with Donnie at this point. We judge people mainly by championships in all of sports. In golf, you all remembered for your major championships. Xander Schauffele gets the nod as of right now. But there is still the Paris Olympics to be had. And, of course, the FedEx Cup, that postseason on the PGA Tour. Entering the Paris Olympics, Scottie Scheffler, of course, is the favorite at plus 310. Xander Schauffele, second best price at 7-1, alongside Rory McIlroy, who missed the cut this week at Troon at the Open. His decade-long drought in major championships will continue into an 11th year. Xander Schauffele's claim to fame, Donnie, before this season got started, was the fact that he would finish runner-up a ton at a major championship and that he had a gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics back in the summer of 2021. In recent golf history, because golf came back to the Olympic Games in recent times, starting in 2016, Justin Rose, the gold medal winner at Rio, and then, of course, in 2021, it was Xander Schauffele in Tokyo. We don't hold gold medals to the same esteem, of course, as a major championship, but it could start to be seen as such in the coming years. It will be a really good battle in Paris for what we will see in terms of a gold medal. Again, Scottie Scheffler the favorite, Xander Schauffele just behind.
Yeah, a lot of Americans on the top of that, odds leaderboard here. Scheffler, Schauffele, and then you take a look at Morikawa at 14-1. The interesting one is Ludwig Oberg at that 10-1 price, waiting for him to crash through here with a legitimate chance. But I guess it's just going to come down to what style of golf are we going to play? Are there any weather conditions that we have to worry about? Because if it's just a regular golf course, isn't fair to say. Obviously, this is certainly a championship value golf course. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in the Olympics. I just want to see the layout and how it plays. But it's no surprise, or should I say, is it a surprise anymore? Scheffler way above the field here to plus 310 price, expected to win.
He's going to be in contention for those medals, as we know. We'll talk to our guy, Charlie Hume, later on this Monday edition of TEL to get a breakdown of golf at the Paris Olympics. Now around the weekend that was in Major League Baseball. That's next here on SportsGrid.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup, what you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
The staple of consistency within the AFC North, that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. 17 years under Mike Tomlin, never a losing record, never less than 8 wins.
You add Patrick Queen there over from your division rival. You take a look at that offensive line, which does have some question marks, but still a decent wide receiving core that they have, a running game that has Najee Harris, and a quarterback that's been there, done that.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Next up, it's Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago, you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they've shown they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is one game to lose.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
No sweep yesterday in Seattle. I just messed that up. You know what it should have been? Sweepless in Seattle. That's good.
Yeah.
I can't believe our producer, Joe Frieso, a witty guy, missed out on that one. Sweepless in Seattle, despite the Houston Astros winning the first 2 games of a weekend set of 3 against their divisional foes. Seattle responds yesterday with a 6-4 victory in the finale, despite Yordan Alvarez hitting for the cycle for the Stros. Houston wins the first 2. Seattle wins the finale to snap a 5-game skid for the Mariners. So at the end of this weekend series, with Seattle holding a 1-game advantage entering the All-Star break in the American League West, but the Astros taking 2 of 3 in a weekend series win, they are tied at the top in the division.
Yeah, take a look yesterday. And again, this is going to be, you're going to look at musical chairs probably the rest of the way here. And maybe the Texas Rangers can make a run to sort of get up to that and make it a 3-way run to the final. Because the one thing that we do know, Ben, before we talk about the game itself, is somebody has to win this division. Somebody's going to have home field advantage in round number 1 in the Major League Baseball playoffs. And you're going to get a decided bump in that price if you can pick right now who that top team is going to be in the AL West. But yesterday, you had Blanco go on the mound, 5 2/3 innings pitched, 6 hits and 4 earned runs. Not good enough. Even though Blanco, 9-5 on the season, deals ERA even after yesterday, 2.75. Maybe the best pitcher in the rotation as a whole for the Astros, certainly. You take a look at Wu, who was on the mound, who actually came in with decent statistics, 5 2/3 innings pitched, only 2 earned runs, 5 Ks. He has a 2.54 ERA because we know it's a pitcher's paradise, typically in Seattle, but he got 10 runs yesterday. The Mariners really needed that win, weren't able to get run over by the Astros. So I said, again, the Astros going to take on the Athletics with a chance maybe to distance themselves from the Seattle Mariners. But this is going to be one to watch. And I'm not surprised by this because even coming into the season, we knew Seattle had a good young pitching staff, played in a pitcher's ballpark, and they would be able to hang around as a competitive team. I just didn't think that Seattle would be giving up this lead so early and now saying, okay, 2 months to go. You're going toe-to-toe with the Astros. I can't give the Mariners the nod there, Ben.
Yordan Alvarez, by the way, has been sensational. Again, hit for the cycle, albeit in a losing effort yesterday. 4 for 4 at the dish. Had 2 RBIs. Hit a gigantic 400-plus foot home run for his first registered for that first home run scoring, I should say, for the Astros on Sunday. Also scored 2 runs. Donnie, as we were resetting things, entering the second half and the stretch run of this year in Major League Baseball, I made this point to you as we did our All-Star break pick 6, that my best bet for a playoff team was not just a make playoff price, but Houston to win the division because they had a plus money number, only trailing Seattle by a single game. And I said to you that if it wasn't the Astros coming back from dead virtually, being 7 games below 500 on June 18th, struggling all year long, that led to our bit of where is the fork? Is it in the Astros? Is it in the drawer? Is it now in the garbage disposal? That if both teams were really good, if Seattle was 14 games above 500 and Houston was 13, only trailing by a game at the All-Star break, I maintain the Astros still would have been a short favorite to win the American League West because both teams would have been performing about at expectation or maybe over that number as well. But because Houston has fallen so short of what we have anticipated, it's why they were the underdog in the American League West. So much ground to make up. Well, they've made up that ground, and now we're tied atop. And Houston into minus money. Minus 110 to win the AL West as of this Monday morning. Plus 105 on the other side for Seattle. I agree with the odds. I think when all is said and done, with about 60 more games left to go here in this Major League Baseball season, 60 to 65, the Astros are going to win the American League West. The Astros are going to have home field advantage for that opening wild card round, and the pedigree on the Stros, who have played in the ALCS the last 7 seasons in a row, is going to be one that's hard to overlook.
Yeah, and you can't be hard-headed about this, right? Because I've been saying that the Houston Astros are done. They're not going to make the playoffs. Just a bad baseball team. It's not their season. Now, granted, are they playing unbelievable baseball at 52 and 47? No, but it just shows you the product of you just have to win what's in front of you and win your division. And that division isn't very good. And that graphic that showed now that the Houston Astros are the favorites to win the division, I got to be honest, I believe that as well. Right now, if you would have told me the Astros and the Mariners would be tied up, a series out of the All-Star break a month ago, I wouldn't have believed you. It'd be like, hey, the Houston Astros probably set up to sell. They'll keep, some superstar players, but move around some of the other talent, maybe bullpen pieces and another starting pitcher to sort of go into that half rebuild and maybe reassess what they have in the offseason. Not the case now. They should be looking at the trade deadline to add pieces now because I think they are right now the best team in that division. I still want to watch those Rangers because I think it's interesting of how much talent they have and what they can do in the second half. But they're 5 back of both the Mariners and the Astros. We have to jump both of those, probably not making a wild card at this point. So it should be a fun race to the finish. But just to get back to the original point here, the Astros should be favored right now to win that division.
Houston and Seattle had the same price to win the American League pennant at the break just a few days ago, 8-1. Houston has seen that price shaved by $1.50 plus 650, tied for the third best number alongside the Cleveland Guardians. Seattle now in quadruple digits once again, a 10-1 number. Despite the loss yesterday in the series finale, Houston has still won 19 of its last 26 games. Seattle snapped a 5-game skid. They have still lost 11 of its last 17. You mentioned the Rangers. They avoid the sweep yesterday in the postseason rematch against the Baltimore Orioles in Arlington. Both teams didn't have to go far after they sent a ton to the All-Star game. Texas wins the finale 3-2. They were a minus 135 home money line favorite. Stayed under 8.5. First 2 games of the weekend set featured at least 10 runs. Yesterday, here was the only scoring. Jonah Heim, a 3-run home run for Texas in the 4th. Anthony Santander, a 2-run home run for Baltimore in the 8th to cut into the lead, but Texas does hold on to avoid the opening weekend series after the All-Star break and avoid that sweep.
Yeah, Heaney came in 3-10 to that game and put on a really good pitching performance. It only goes 5 innings, Ben, but only 2 hits, no earned runs giving up there, lowering his ERA to 3.60. Imagine that, being 3-10 with an ERA under 4. It's crazy in this day and age in Major League Baseball, but they needed that. Also, you take a look at a pitcher like Kramer, who was on the mound yesterday for the Orioles, drops to 4-6 on the season, ERA of 4.43. It's that position that we look at for the Orioles. Love Corbin Burnes at the top. They still do have some young pitchers, but you just want to have that other guy outside of your starting pitchers that say, you know what, I can be a 3, I can be a 4, I can be a 5 and be accountable on a day-to-day basis. Orioles will be there at the end. They're going to be in the playoffs. The focus then switches over. Can the Rangers make a comeback of 5 games back from the 2 teams that are above them? It's a good start yesterday. Yeah. They have a lot of talent, but you can't wait any longer. It's not May anymore out there in these streets. We're about to get to August, and we got to sprint to the finish line.
5 games back in the American League West. The Rangers are 7.5 games out of a wild card spot. So Donnie is correct. They focused on the AL West for the reigning World Series champs. Divisional duel yesterday, 3rd of a 4-game set that will conclude with some day baseball in the Bronx today between the Yankees and the Rays. The Yankees great in the opener. Garrett Cole solid in the first game for New York following the All-Star break. The Rays have won the last 2, including yesterday, a 6-4 victory. Tampa up 5-0 after the top of the 7th. Aaron Judge hit a 3-run shot in the home half of the 7th to make it interesting. The Yankees had a runner on 3rd in the tying run at the dish in the bottom of the 9th, but Tampa holds on for a 6-4 win. They will look for the series victory, taking 3 of 4 today. Day baseball again in the Bronx.
Yeah, it wasn't certainly Aaron Judge's fault. 2 of 4, 3 RBI, a home run, and a walk. The guy was on base all day long, just wasn't good enough. Other guys have to step up. And as we said before, look at this lineup after Aaron Judge. Wells, 213. Torres, 229. Verdugo, 229. Volpe, 249. Grisham, 180. Cabrera, 290. Ben Rice, who started out so hot, Ben, 211. It's basically Soto and Judge, and somebody help the Yankees at the plate. We'll see if they can do that today.
Juan Soto RBI double in the 9th. It scored Ben Rice to give the Yankees a shot, just not good enough. Baltimore wins the weekend in Texas. New York drops 2 of 3 over the weekend to Tampa. 4th and final game today. The O's a 2-game lead in the American League East. More around the weekend in MLB next.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup, what you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The staple of consistency within the AFC North, that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. 17 years under Mike Tomlin, never a losing record, never less than 8 wins.
You add Patrick Queen there over from your division rival. You take a look at that offensive line, which does have some question marks, but still a decent wide receiving core that they have, a running game that has Najee Harris, and a quarterback that's been there, done that.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Next up is Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago, you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they've shown they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is 1 game to lose.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The third and final game last night on a Sunday night out at the Ravine between the Dodgers and the Red Sox in L.A., courtesy of the long ball in one exceptionally long ball that traveled 473 feet off the bat of one Shohei Ohtani, complete the sweep over the Red Sox. 9-6 the victory for Los Angeles last night at home, booked as an ever so slight favorite at -116. Total of 8.5. Nearly doubled last night at the Ravine, 9-6. Shohei Ohtani, DRS, as we mentioned, hit his 30th home run of the season. That leads everybody in the National League, second most in MLB, only behind Aaron Judge, in his 35, in the 30th homer of the year for Ohtani. Off the bat was like a rocket blasting off, and it traveled 473 feet.
Yeah, pretty impressive. 15 total runs. I joked last night watching that game. Hey, look, the Juice Baseballs are back in Major League Baseball. They wanted to get a charge into the second half, and they got one last night with those 15 total runs. But also take a look at this. Like, the Dodgers scored 9 runs, and a lot of those were by the long ball. So you say, oh, my goodness, look at that. 3 of 4. They had 4 runners in scoring position because they kept knocking everybody in. If you're in first place, you're just hitting solo home runs. Conversely, the Red Sox did hit their fair share of home runs as well. But at the same time, they went 3 of 14 with runners in scoring position. They could have easily won that baseball game if they just converted on some of those. You take a look at Paxton, who one of those guys I always measure up with before games start and say, sometimes his ERA is decent. Now it's a 4.43 at this point. It was a lot lower a couple weeks back, but that xFIP number has always been high, which means not striking guys out, giving up fly balls. And when you have an atmosphere last night that was conducive to hitting home runs, he's going to give up a few of those. Now, yesterday, he only gave up 1, but when you take a look at that lineup for the Dodgers, this is what gets so scary. Like, Mookie Betts is still going to come back. This team is going to hit. You're just waiting for the pitching to come around. But the one thing we know, even if the pitching doesn't come around, like last night giving up 6 total runs, you still have the ability to put up 9 on the board. This is why the Dodgers are so fun to watch and also bet. RBI props, team total props, they can really hit. And if they're getting their mojo back right now, that's the right time.
James Paxton on the bump for L.A. It's why they were only a -116 money line favorite. But he's 8-2 this year, despite having a 4.43 ERA. Did only allow 3 earned yesterday in 5 innings. Not a bad start by any means, but taking advantage of a short price on L.A. The All-Star Game MVP, Jarren Duran, a home run yesterday, 4 RBIs for the Red Sox, albeit in that losing effort. Shohei Ohtani, Teoscar Hernandez, who run the home run derby, Freddie Freeman, Gavin Lux, Jason Hayward, and Austin Barnes. Those were the 6 guys that hit home runs for the Dodgers yesterday. Now we go to Cleveland, where the Guardians had a half game up on the O's at the All-Star break for the best record in the American League. Not any longer. San Diego winning the rubber match yesterday against Cleveland 2-1. Michael King got it started. The bullpen delivered for the Padres, only allowing 2 hits to Cleveland. They were a very slight underdog on the road in the land. Cleveland won Game 1 7-zip. San Diego responds on Saturday, winning 7-zip. The Padres take the rubber match to win the weekend 2-1 yesterday.
Yeah, you're not going to win too many games as you line up and say, okay, what are we doing with runners in scoring position? Because the reason why we like that metric is it means you have traffic on the bases with a legitimate chance to score outside of the home run. 0 for 1, that's not going to do it here for the Guardians if they only score that one singular run. But as we looked at yesterday, handicapping this game, it probably did tilt more towards an under than it did an over. And by the way, King, who came over in that deal for Juan Soto, 8-6 now in the season, 7 innings pitched, 1 earned run, an ERA now of 3.28. And Lively's one of those guys that, we're just hoping that he gets on track. He's actually had a pretty good season here for the Guardians. It's a shame that you waste an effort. 5 1/3 innings, 2 earned runs, a 3.57 ERA on the season. You wasted that effort there because you just couldn't get anything going at the plate. The Padres sitting over 500 at 52-50. There's a lot of talent there. And it's one of those teams that we're looking at, and through some of these updates from the beat writers in Major League Baseball, maybe buyers at the deadline. Because if you can see the playoffs with the extra wild card, you owe it to the team to go in for that. That's a talented roster, a talented lineup still. Let's see what they do at the deadline. But a good win for them yesterday. And King looks every bit the part as one of those good young pitchers in Major League Baseball.
DRS, varying amounts of games for the Padres, the Mets, and the Diamondbacks, but every team is 2 games above 500, and they have the same winning percentage at .510. There is a 3-way tie right now for the third and final National League wildcard spot between the Mets, the Diamondbacks and the Padres. All three of those teams behind the Braves and the Cardinals. By the way, in the last couple of minutes, Atlanta adding the super utility guy, Whit Merrifield, who was released earlier this year by the Philadelphia Phillies. Short 2-game set this weekend in the Twin Cities between Milwaukee and Minnesota. The Brew Crew victorious yesterday, 8-7 in the finale to complete that short 2-game sweep. Minnesota hefty home favorite yesterday. The Brewers cashing, a big plus money ticket. Eric Haas, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs. Jackson Chourio, 3 ribbies as well. Milwaukee wins both games in Minneapolis, 8-7, the victory yesterday in that finale.
Yeah, you don't expect to win too many games when you're starting pitchers 4 1/3 innings and gives up 5 earned runs along with 4 walks in that, with the 2 home runs given up. But yesterday, one of the guys I was really zeroing in had great numbers yesterday was Byron Buxton in a losing effort. Hits 2 home runs yesterday, 2 RBIs, 2 for 5, lifting his average to 282. Nice win for the Brewers there. The Twins, look, man, you got to make some ground there on the Cleveland Guardians. You got to try to stay in that race. That's going to be a fun one to watch all the way down the stretch. But the one thing, we don't really talk about that with the Milwaukee Brewers. They're the best team there in their Central Division in the National League. That's a nice win yesterday, maybe one that you didn't expect, and certainly a higher scoring affair. Another game that we talked about earlier, the Dodgers game, 15 runs. This one also had 15 runs.
7.5 in Minnesota, total doubled as well.
Yeah.
St. Louis, though, keeping pace with Milwaukee. They split a doubleheader against Atlanta on Saturday, won the finale yesterday 6-2 to win the weekend set. The Cardinals were 3 games below 500 on June 11th, 21-13 since that point. The Buccos, despite not completing the sweep against Philadelphia, have won 7 of their last 9. This weekend, getting above 500 with a winning record for the first time since April 24th. Pittsburgh only a half game out of that 3-way tie for the 3rd and final spot in the National League wildcard race.
Yeah, if you're looking at some of those numbers where you got a big price point on Paul Skeens to win the Cy Young, man, you want the Pittsburgh Pirates to hang around as much as you can to be in it with about a week and a half to 2 weeks to go, something to keep an eye on, but a good win for the Phillies yesterday. And also, you're right about that. The Cardinals, Miles Michaelis has a 5.02 ERA after a good performance yesterday. Analytical numbers don't tell the same story as that ERA. He's been better than that.
First weekend around MLB after the All-Star break. More next.
Where are you at in terms of a starting lineup, what you want to see from Team USA?
I think he'll get guys involved, and then there's your lockdown defender at the point guard, the point of attack, right? I do like Curry. I would then go with Ant. I like Ant over Booker. I think if you look at the way the Canada game was, they looked kind of slow starting, and then they kind of got rolling.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The staple of consistency within the AFC North, that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. 17 years under Mike Tomlin, never a losing record, never less than 8 wins.
You add Patrick Queen there over from your division rival. You take a look at that offensive line, which does have some question marks, but still a decent wide receiving core that they have, a running game that has Najee Harris, and a quarterback that's been there, done that.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Next up is Tampa, who was very impressive last year with Baker Mayfield, Evans. They hooked up a ton, and they've already shown what they can do, but they're picking this team, the Falcons, over them. Explain that to me.
Baker Mayfield's back. Mike Evans is back. Where a couple years ago, you really wondered if he finished his career as a Buck, but the Bucks wanted him to do that, and he's going to do that. He signed a 2-year deal for about $21 million a year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they've shown they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is 1 game to lose.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
How did the market move at all after the first weekend following the All-Star break in Major League Baseball? Teams nearing 100 games played of 162 in the long regular season that is MLB. The team at the top stays at the top. The Dodgers sweeping the Red Sox in the first weekend following the All-Star break, plus 320. LA needed it. They entered the break dropping 8 of its last 11, but a sweep over Boston. They're less than $1 in front now of the Phillies. They were a full dollar at the break, plus 420 for the Phils, now 4-1. Yankees still third best price. Orioles still the fourth best price, and Atlanta rounds out the top 5. The biggest movement, Donnie, that's the Houston Astros, 20-1 at the All-Star break, a much longer number in the weeks prior. Now after taking 2 of 3 in the opening weekend after the break from Seattle and tying the Mariners atop the American League West, the Astros 14-1, sixth best price to win the World Series in 2024.
Yeah, you got to be in the playoffs if you want to win the World Series. Just a few weeks ago, we didn't think the Houston Astros could possibly get to the playoffs, maybe looking at a wild card, but now it looks like they could be in pole position to win the AL West, which again sets them up for a first-round action in their home ballpark, and that's what you need to have happen. It also means they're probably having one of the better records in baseball, which how bad they were, now hovering above 500, and if you expect them to win the division, I don't think they're going to play 500 baseball down the stretch. They'll probably play, 550 to 600 at least winning baseball, which will put them at a pretty solid record. So I do agree with the Astros moving up. It's just funny to see the top of that leaderboard. The Yankees and Orioles are going to jockey for position as well. But it just seems like, the betting public, or let's just say the odds makers, watch that Phillies-Dodgers series like, yeah, the Phillies swept them. That's what we expected. But then they're like, whoa, coming out of the break. Oh, wow. Look at that. They end up sweeping the Boston Red Sox. So, yeah, they're a formidable team. Now, these numbers are going to solidify by the end of next week when we have that trade deadline officially. If the Dodgers go out and don't make any moves, I'm not going to be surprised forget about it. Let's just say the Phillies and the Dodgers don't gain either. Like, neither team says, okay, the Phillies are 6.5 or whatever games up on the Dodgers. I didn't check what they were today. It's where they were last week. And then you filter in that they didn't make any moves and say, okay, they're not going to be plus 320 and 4-1 come the trade deadline. The Phillies will probably go neck and neck, if not take the lead on the Dodgers at that point. But we are waiting for the other shoe to drop. And that's the deadline for the Dodgers to go out and wow everybody with a player they get.
1 week from tomorrow, July 30th, the trade deadline in Major League Baseball. I hope at some point this week our MLB insider returns for the daily basis so we can ask those questions. That would be Craig Mish. Outside of the Astros, Donnie, not a ton of movement, and pretty much those teams from the American League Central are there at a 20-1 price. The Mariners move back. The Brewers pretty much remaining at a 26-1 number to round out the top 10. Again, Houston, the big move in the American League, 8-1 at the break, just 3 games after winning 2 of them. It is plus 650, tied for the third best price behind the Yankees and the Orioles. Houston again, 33-40 on June 18th. 6 games below 500. From that point, despite not winning the weekend finale against Seattle to complete the sweep in the Northwest, they have won 19 of their last 26. In the National League, it's a pretty similar story as well. The tier of 2, the Dodgers and the Phils, those numbers unchanged. The Braves, same story, plus 450. Those 3 teams well in front of everybody else in the National League.
And this is also how we gauge the regular season, Ben, into the playoffs. Look at those price points we brought up there. A tie in the American League between the Guardians and the Astros, each at a plus 650 price. You have a much better record for the Cleveland Guardians, but not getting a lot of respect. And this looks like the Guardians are probably going to win their division as we anticipate, and you're still going to have a tough stretch coming up for the Houston Astros to try to fend off the Seattle Mariners as they're both tied basically in the standings today. So let me ask you this question. Guardians or Astros, plus 650 each. Which team would you actually bet to win the pennant in the American League?
There's only one answer. It's the Astros, right? And that's no disrespect to Cleveland this year right now, but based on pedigree and Houston having a chance to be in the dance now, it's got to be Houston.
Yeah, no, I completely agree because you see those. I was interested to see that price point when it came back at those numbers, and it wasn't even like a thought process like, ooh, I wonder who I would take. No, it stood right out to me. It's the Astros because that pedigree of winning World Series, and also now that they're back in it, we're 3 weeks ago from that organization having meetings, Ben, saying, what are we going to do with the deadline? Who can we get rid of? To now restructuring everything, going like, we got a chance to make another run here. Who are we adding onto our roster at this point? So what an interesting dichotomy of just a couple weeks it makes for the Astros, going from sellers now to we can actually win this thing. It's pretty crazy.
They got to buy some arms. We expect pitchers to be at a premium ahead of the trade deadline, and maybe a bat or two going around as well. Our number 2 comes your way next on the Early Line.